Nobody noticed her. Not the guests. Not the manager. Not even the man who loved her most in the world. But she noticed something everyone else had missed, and what she did about it changed everything in that room. This is the story of a shy waitress, a deaf woman sitting alone at a table full of people, and one silent moment that brought a billionaire to his knees. Mia had always been the kind of person who blended into the background. She was quiet, careful, the type of girl who double-checked every order, never spilled a drop, and apologized even when it wasn't her fault. She had worked at Grandview, one of the most expensive restaurants in the city, but for almost 2 years. White tablecloths, crystal glasses, guests who wore watches that cost more than her rent. She was used to being invisible. Most of the staff at Grandview were loud and confident. They laughed easily and moved through the dining room like they owned it. Mia was different. She had learned early in life that being quiet wasn't a weakness. It was just how she was wired. She watched people. She paid attention, and because of that, she noticed things others didn't. On a cold Tuesday evening in November, Table 7 was reserved for a private party. Mia was assigned to serve them. The man who walked in first was tall, clean-shaved, and wearing a suit that cost more than Mia's monthly salary. His name was Ethan Cole, and almost everyone in the city knew who he was. At 34, he had built one of the fastest-growing tech companies in the country from a small apartment, with nothing but a laptop and a loan he could barely afford. The press called him brilliant, ruthless, untouchable. But tonight he wasn't a CEO, he was a son. He walked in holding the hand of an older woman, small, silver-haired, dressed in white pearls and a cream blazer. She moved slowly and looked around the room with wide, careful eyes, the way someone does when they're not sure what to expect. This was Margaret Cole, Ethan's mother. She was deaf. The rest of the table filled in quickly. Colleagues, business partners, their partners. Loud conversations started immediately. Wine was poured. Laughter broke out. The kind of laughter that's a little too polished, a little too rehearsed. Everyone at that table was trying to impress Ethan. Nobody spoke to Margaret. Mia noticed this within the first 3 minutes. Margaret sat quietly at the edge of the table, hands folded in her lap, watching mouths move around her. Nobody signed to her. Nobody turned to include her. Even Ethan, who clearly loved her. You could see it in how gently he had guided her to her seat, was pulled into work conversations almost immediately. Margaret just sat there, smiling politely. Alone in a room full of people, Mia felt something tighten in her chest. She took orders around the table, nodding and writing. When she got to Margaret, she leaned down slightly and caught the woman's eye. Margaret gave a small apologetic smile, the kind that says, "I'm sorry. I can't hear you." Mia smiled back, and then, without thinking, without planning it, she raised her hands. She signed, "What would you like to drink?" Margaret's eyes went wide. Her whole face changed, like a light had turned on behind it. She looked at Mia the way someone looks when they haven't been spoken to in a very long time and had almost stopped expecting it. She signed back, "You know sign language?" Mia nodded. Her mother had been deaf. She had grown up speaking with her hands before she ever learned to speak out loud. Sign language wasn't a skill Mia had. It was part of who she was. "I would love some sparkling water," Margaret signed, "and someone who will actually talk to me tonight." Mia smiled. A real one this time. For the next hour, every time Mia came back to the table, she stopped at Margaret's side. She signed about the menu, what was fresh, what the chef recommended, what was worth ordering. She signed little jokes. Margaret laughed. The quiet, full-body laugh of someone who has been holding it in. At one point, Margaret signed that the salmon was the best thing she had eaten in 3 years, and that the last person who made her feel this, comfortable at a restaurant, was her late husband. That one hit Mia right in the heart. What Mia didn't realize was that Ethan had been watching. Not constantly, not obviously, but he had caught the corner of it. The way his mother's shoulders had relaxed, the way her face had changed, the way her hands were moving again in a way he hadn't seen in a long time. He didn't say anything. He turned back to his conversation, but his eyes kept drifting back to his mother. At the end of the night, as the table was clearing, Ethan stood up and walked toward Mia. She assumed she had done something wrong. That happened sometimes. Guests found small things to complain about, just to feel powerful. She steadied herself, but Ethan stopped in front of her and didn't say anything for a moment. Then he said quietly, "My mother lost her hearing when I was 7. I've spent my whole life trying to make sure she never feels left out. But tonight," he paused. His jaw tightened. "Tonight was the first time in years I've seen her laugh like that. At a dinner that was supposed to be for me." Mia didn't know what to say. "I didn't do anything special," she said. "I just talked to her." Ethan shook his head slowly. "You have no idea how rare that is." He left a tip that night that made Mia's hands shake when she saw it. But that wasn't what stayed with her. What stayed with her was what happened right before he walked out. Margaret had come to find Mia near the kitchen door. She signed, "I don't know if you understand this, but tonight I felt like a person again. Not a problem to manage, not someone to feel sorry for. Just a person." Mia felt tears burn behind her eyes. She signed back, "You reminded me of my mother. She would have liked you very much." Margaret reached out and took both of Mia's hands in hers. She held them for a moment. Didn't sign anything. Didn't need to. Sometimes silence says everything. 3 days later, Mia came into work and was called into her manager's office. She sat down confused, a little nervous. Her manager slid a card across the desk, a small cream envelope with her name written on it in neat, formal handwriting. Inside was a note from Ethan Cole. It said that he had spoken to his foundation, a nonprofit he ran that helped fund education for deaf and hard of hearing children, and that he wanted to offer Mia a paid position on his outreach team. Not because she was impressive on paper, but because people who see other people, who really see them, were rare. And that kind of person was exactly what his foundation needed. At the bottom, in different handwriting, softer, less formal, was a note from Margaret. It said, "I told him he'd be a fool not to." Mia started the new job 6 weeks later. She still serves people. Only now, instead of taking orders, she helps deaf children feel seen in classrooms, in waiting rooms, in a world that often forgets they exist. She uses her hands the same way she always has. The way her mother taught her. The way that, on one quiet Tuesday evening, changed 2 lives at once. And none of it started with anything dramatic. It started with a shy girl who noticed an old woman sitting alone and decided that silence didn't have to mean invisible. That's it. That's the whole story. Sometimes the smallest moment, a smile, a gesture, a pair of hands moving in the air, can rewrite someone's entire life. Watch the next video on the screen right now. You won't want to miss it.